So the Norway situation would be that we continue to be a member of the European Economic Area, in which case we have single market access in terms of goods as well as services. So if you wanted to continue with passporting privileges for the banking sector, I won't get too much into that detail, that would continue with the Norway option. But Norway is not part of the European Union, it's not part of the customs union. It's only a part of the free trade agreement, which means that Norway still has to comply with rules of origin requirements. It's also not part of EU's VAT cooperation. So all of these things delay and add to the trade barriers involved when Norway has to interact with the rest of the European Union. You continue to have single market access in terms of free trade in goods as well as services, but what you lose out on is that absolute ease which comes from being an EU member because you're part of the customs union, you don't have to comply with these rules of origin requirements. So the other thing you can think of is, well, we might not want to do a Norwegian option after Brexit because you still have to adopt 75%, Norway still adopts about 75% of the regulations from the EU without really having a voice in policy making of these regulations. So one thing you might want to do is you want to have some kind of bilateral trade deal with the EU, just the way Switzerland does. So how does that work? That is more a piecemeal type of deal that you have a trade agreement, you go through the trade agreement, through the European Free Trade Agreement to get access to the single market in goods. You still have to agree to the free movement of people, but what you also don't get is free trade in services, which would cover the banking sector. So in principle, this is one of the reasons that you see Swiss banks locating in the UK to be able to service the European market because they don't have that passporting privilege to the extent that the UK has. With the Swiss deal, it is going to take some time. Typically, trade agreements take fairly long to negotiate. So just to give you an example, the recent EU-Korea FTA took about 15 years to in fact get implemented from the day it started. If you look at the recent the US, you might argue that Korea is very different from us, so therefore it took so long, while if we were thinking of sort of more reasonable examples, it wouldn't be so bad. But the EU-Swiss agreement itself took about 10 years to finally get implemented. And if you look at the US-Canada the Canada-US Free Trade Agreement, from the day that the white paper was ready to the actual implementation took another 4 years. So these are fairly slow to come through, and which is what probably is going to happen with the UK as well, that if it tries to negotiate some kind of bilateral deal with the EU, it's going to be at least a span of 5 years. The other option that's left behind is the World Trade Organization default, which is saying we would be just like Brazil or China or the US or India when trading with the European Union. So we wouldn't really get any kind of special deal there. We would just fall right into the most favored nation tariff status. And in that case, we would just sort of be trading the way any other nation that is a member of the WTO trades with the rest of the European Union. And this is the scenario that most people, that currently is being pushed as being the most likely one, because the European Union might not be willing to do a deal, and the UK might not want to do a deal if it wants to get rid of all EU regulations in principle.